Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you founder of St. Lucia Sports Online, Mr. Kenson Casimir, aka Bebe for Grosley.
Good morning. Good. Thank you so much, Rankin. Of course, thank you, Wave, for having me here this morning. Listening to that short intro, and of course, Masano being here, somebody who we sat in literature and socio class together.
Yeah, we
both
go
of us,
way back.
yes, both of us getting into the media, getting into that thing. It really makes me feel like, okay, there's a progression in life that sometimes you just cannot see when you're young, but you need to stay focused in life and get things going. So I'm really happy to be here today, guys.
There's a lot of things I could have put in that intro, you know, but I'd probably still be talking. Right? Definitely, you have achieved so much coming from your humble beginnings, your environments. I know it wasn't easy. All the bad negative influences around you, you know, but how did you overcome that? How did Kenson Casimir stay focused and grounded during that time?
Well, I've given this story a couple of times, but for listeners out there, it's about a lot of the times being told that you cannot do, because I was an athlete for most of my life, and as you said, left Leones Comprehensive Secondary School at that time with 2 CXCs, and of course was working at the Ministry of Youth Development and Sport, and I was pretty much told when persons found out what I had achieved or the lack thereof, that I would never amount to nothing. I mean, I was considered to be an outcast. I was a messenger boy until one day I was embarrassed to a level where I felt like, you know what, I can prove this person wrong. I went back, I did CXCs. I got 4 2s at that time, 3 2s and a 3, which gave me the requisite, the requirements to enter Safa Lewis, and went to Safa Lewis. And as Masana could have told you, could tell you guys, I was focused at Safa Lewis. I was absolutely focused at Safa Lewis. I got the sociology award. I did literature as well and management. And after getting good results, I applied for a scholarship to Grambling, and I took it very seriously. When I got to Grambling, did my degree, did my master's, I started a PhD at the University of North Texas in sociology, which is obviously my first love. And I've been working on something called Caribbean hybridity, and Caribbean hybridity pretty much delves into the cross-pollination of human beings, similar to, if you look at the plant kingdom, you look at mangoes, and there are 1,000 different species of mangoes on the planet, and you bring that in the human kingdom, there are pretty much thousands of different species. You have the Asian Americans, you have the Mexican Americans, and different research has shown that these individuals, because of cross-pollination of cultures, tend to be more accepting of differences and more accepting of moving forward in unity. So I pretty much wanted to focus on Caribbean hybridity, like the cross-pollination between a Bajan and a St. Lucian, the Bajan Lucian, a Trini Babalucian. Somebody who has the heritage of 3 different parenting, how it allows you to socialize and accept differences from different societies, and pretty much my sort of focus is on how this benefits a society, because these cross-pollinated individuals tend to be the best at sciences, technology. They seem to be the best. Okay. Most of the research shows that these individuals grow up to be the most efficient social beings.
Okay.
Because of, I mean, early in the household, the mother is from Trinidad, the father is from St. Lucia. So you learn the 2 cultures, and you learn to accept differences from very early. So this is pretty much where my research has been going. It's very expensive to conduct that, because you need to do this on a longitudinal level and that sort of stuff. So it's been a challenge. I've not been able to complete that sort of analysis, but it's something that I'm passionate about. And
is it something you're doing for like educational purposes?
Let me tell you, for me, a PhD, achieving a PhD is simply, and I keep saying it because I don't feel like you actually need it to actually thrive in life, but it is something that I think it's something that I've always wanted to achieve by the end of my life. And it's something that you want to have that DR dot Dr. Casimir. That's a passion I have. I want to have that. Considering that when I started off slowly academically, that I was pretty much told, and this was serious. I was emotional about being told that I would never amount to nothing, and I really wanted to prove that individual wrong. And for me, a PhD is proving something to myself now, and it's proving to other young persons. Like I speak to people in Grosley that have 5 CXCs and they don't even have maths, and they tell me, yeah, but I do have maths, and I could tell them, yo, I only had 2. And I did not have maths, and I went and I did 4. And so I can speak to young people, I could relate to them. Those who are athletes who tell me, well, boy, track and field training and then school, and I tell them, let me tell you something, I can do it, you can do it because I did it. But those persons who say, you know what, my parents don't have money and that sort of thing, I can tell them, you know what, when I was 13 years old, I had to live by myself for a period of time, and it was not easy because my mom was still there, my father was still there. I had to pretty much walk to Grosley from Belarus to get stuff done by my father, go by my grandmother sometimes, get stuff from my mother. But it wasn't an easy trip. So when persons talk to me and they tell me, you know, why am I so passionate about youth development, why am I so passionate about sports, is because I know what was wrong for most of my life as an athlete, and I'm still seeing it wrong today and even worse, and I believe that I have a contribution to make it better. So it's a passion that I have in terms of how we get things done, how we strategize. Being somebody that I've traveled, I went to school in India for a while. I mean, I studied in Texas, studied in Louisiana. I had the experience here. Track and field took me pretty much all around the region, and seeing how things are done, it's sometimes disappointing to see where we are today. So,
but what keeps you hungry? I know you said there was a point where you wanted to prove somebody wrong, and now to keep yourself, I guess, motivated that you can do this. But there comes a time when I think a lot of successful people, at some point, you get a little complacent, you know, things nice, the money is coming in finally, you kind of get a little laid back, but like you're always hungry. It hasn't wavered.
That's a very interesting question. How
do you keep yourself going like that? Because it could be a draining thing.
Let me tell you, I had 2 brothers. Kendall Casimir is Dr. Kendall Casimir now in Canada, married with a nice house and that sort of thing, living in Canada. Comfortable, perhaps will never come back to St. Lucia or just visit. Linton Casimir in New York, married, kids, all that sort of stuff, would visit St. Lucia from time to time. We're very happy about that. That is cool. A younger sister, Carlin Vanika Casimir, married, Canada, kids, living, husband has a plumbing company, they're happy. I am the total opposite when it comes to being a patriot, and I think that is because of representing St. Lucia from the age of 7. I am the type of individual that want to see things better in my country. I had the option when I finished my master's and I started my PhD to do everything, stay overseas, never come back to St. Lucia, live a glorious life. I had that option. I still do. But I decided, you know what, with all what's in Lucia, in terms of spending money to send me everywhere as an athlete and a scholarship, I am not going to be part of that brain drain. To answer your question, if you're going to live in St. Lucia, you're going to have doubters no matter what you achieve. And I'm experiencing it at a different level now. Young, I'm 35. Persons would tell me, you cannot do it because you're so young. You know, I have a small business, very successful, St. Lucia Sports Online, a different sort of business, very successful. People will say, but you cannot move it out and you cannot do anything. In Grosley, persons would tell me, Kenson, you're from Grosley, you're young, you're academic, you have ideas that are different, but you would still find people come in and tell you, but you cannot get the middle class to support you in an election. You would still find people who would tell you, you cannot find older people to support you in an election. They would, and those things that drive you, because you're saying, okay, there's no perfect candidate. There's nobody that would tick every single box. But you're going to tell me somebody would tick a box with young persons, tick a box with the independent voters, tick a box with the Labour Party voters, tick a box with persons that are moving across. Persons would still look for a minute detail to tell you, but they have persons in Cap State that probably doesn't watch news and they don't know you, and Roddy Ben, as if to say that you cannot strategize, come up with something to deal with that perceived weakness. And I say perceived because it is perceived, and to show them that this coalition that you're building is what not just your community needs, but what St. Lucia and the region needs to develop the young persons. You know, so there's always that doubt. There's always, boy, you can't do that to pass a face. So it keeps you motivated.
Because we're going to go into this, into that political realm in a sec. But going back to St. Lucia Sports Online, which you just mentioned, you know, you had all that education you have your degree and your master's, right? I'm sure you got opportunities overseas, but yet still you came back to St. Lucia, right? And now, to me, it looks like you're giving back with St. Lucia Sports Online, because sports is your passion. You understand the struggles and obstacles young athletes face in St. Lucia, right? So just tell us, like, how did you start? How did you conceptualize that idea? Because again, it's new. A lot of people probably told you, okay, Kenson, this will never work because this is online. St. Lucia's not online. St. Lucia's, they don't like to read, quote unquote.
Boy, ranking, if I tell you.
Especially sports.
Especially sports, because again, sports is not really encouraged. We do say, yeah, it could be a sports, an athlete here and there, but it's not really encouraged in our society.
By Rankin and Masana, you all give me an opportunity to expose a media entity here, and I'm not going to hold no word in my mouth to do that. I was at HTS, Helen Television System. Persons know me from being there and ask me a lot of times, why did I leave HTS? It's a simple, I'm answering your question right now. I was passionate about sports and getting our local talent out there, because when I was in track and field and football, you would hear very little about what's happening locally, but you'd hear everything that happened in the Champions League and all that sort of stuff. So my model was to get those individuals that are locally doing things and put them out there. So it so happened that after about 6 months, I was having scripts that could have easily been an hour long, and I'm not exaggerating, but I had 12 minutes at HGS to present. So I had that log of sporting stories that were just there that I have to push to tomorrow, and then when something happened, push and push. So I decided, you know what? I went to the managers, the owners of Helen Television System. I said, you know what? I think we are in a modern age, and I think it is ripe right now to have HTS Sports Online. Listen to how stupid I was there. I proposed HTS Sports Online to them. I would populate the website for them with all the stories I have. They would make the money from advertising and all that sort of stuff, from getting the numbers, and they would pay me a little bit more than they would pay me at that time. I presented that to them, and you know what they said to me? I don't think we have a market for that right now. I don't think people are going to buy into that right now. Focus on that sport. So you have so much to do already. Focus on that.
Focus on your 12 minutes.
By 12 minutes. You know what I did? When I left that meeting, I was like, Kenson, you're really stupid. They cannot see it. I decided, you know what? I spoke to Coach Charles at that time, and I said, you know what? He was a rookie at that time. He had no big experience in web development or anything, website development, and we put together St. Lucia Sports Online. When this thing started coming on stream and we started getting 12,000 views a day, everybody was into St. Lucia Sports Online. You know what HTS then came back and tell me? We have an untenable situation because people are advertising with St. Lucia Sports Online and you are HTS and that sort of thing. Conflict. I was like, and they pretty much told me, you would have to choose. So I was like, my baby that I'm brewing and maturing, I have to choose between HTS. I'm like, no, I'm choosing St. Lucia Sports Online. And that was it between me and HTS, because I continued to do St. Lucia Sports Online, and then I had to go to somewhere that would accept that I'm doing online, and I'm still going to do television for you guys. And so, I mean, it came on board, and one of the things I want to mention is the fact that with St. Lucia Sports Online, I decided that I am going to give back from my website. We had the income. We decided that we are going to actually have a grassroots program in Grosley to develop under 15, under 13, under 11. As early as 7 years old, we instituted a grassroots program. And with the grassroots program, we provide lunch, we provide snacks, water, transportation on transport days, and on competition days, transportation for training, and we have over 60 under 15 young people from our community in that program. We sponsor Moshi FC, the community. We adopted the school, and we decided we're developing their football program. And this is how we're giving back to the community. We're trying to harness their minds, not just on the field, but develop their minds and open up their eyes to how they could use sport and education to develop themselves.
Great. Now,
you could sell that bottle of passion, you know why? What?
But I've seen him in action, right? So, okay, so you have this new website, right? One of the, I guess, challenges is creating the content.
Yeah.
But I could tell the listeners out there that I've seen Kenson in action, Mabia Valley, right? Everywhere, right? Kenson, once he walks in, Kenson Casimir. That's all you, right? That's all you hear from the crowd.
Okay.
Right? People come to watch the matches, cricket, football, whatever it is. but you hear like like the spectators shouting him, you know, and he takes the photography, right? He has his laptop right there. Right? He uploads immediately. So tell us about this process of content creation for sports.
Because that's a job on its own.
It is.
Yeah.
It is a full-time job, I can tell you that. And St. Lucian's, my father was a drummer. In fact, he still is a drummer. So I love the music. So you see Denry segment music. You see any type of music that is good, I am into it. And one of the things HDS again did not have an appreciation for was what actually happens at a football game. When you go to a football game, you hear by Pat, you hear those kind of music. So you hear the infusion of that. And what I wanted to do was bring the atmosphere and bring the actual pictures of what was going on to St. Lucia. So I would have the montage with the Denry segment behind it. Some of the lyrics, sometimes you have to try to edit, and sometimes you're not successful as well as you think you should. And so we'd take in excess sometimes of 200-300 pictures, and we'd use the music and we would play it so persons could see what was happening on the ground. And what you would have is, after that, like everybody who saw the excitement, by the following game you'd see more and more people coming in. I want my picture, I want to see my picture on news, I want to see my picture on TV. And so we developed that, and we got a huge traffic to the website from doing that as well. Of course, the profiles of those young athletes that are doing well, like Emmanuel Melius is captain of the West Indies under 19 team. A boy from Babono is captain in Trinidadians, Bajans, Guyanese. That is huge, and that is one of the things we would capture and put out there. With the website, again, the content in terms of the facilities. How do you book a facility? You live in Grosley, you want to have an activity at VG. Who do you contact? So you go to facilities and teams and venues. You click, you get information on who the contact person is. How do you go around filling out that form to get it? And so we wanted to capture all angles of sports with St. Lucia Sports Online.
So, maybe for Brazil.
Let me tell you again, the passion is the passion is mostly sports. It's mostly sports, but it's also the creative industry. It is, how do you make what we have, the craze we have right now, which is Denry segment and persons gravitating towards it, how do we create the soil that is fertile enough to make it industry? You have an art, how do you make it industry and make it self-sustaining for people? Why would I tell Umpa right now go and work construction? Umpa is lyrically the best, one of the best we have.
And he's on his way to Africa right now.
Exactly. So what we need is a government ministry that understands how to make that soil fertile so he can grow and develop and spring out into something that the world loves. And all the other artists, I want to be part of that movement. In terms of sports, I am very disappointed when it comes to sports tourism. I think what we have, the sea, the sun, the pitons and everything, right now we should be attracting individuals to St. Lucia that are sporting inclined. Listen to a simple scenario. I give it to you all that in 5 seconds. A simple scenario. Cristiano Ronaldo has about 10 million followers on Instagram. Simple sports tourism, right? Right now, we should be courting his managers. We should be speaking to these people. We're supposed to provide a flight first class for him, free of charge. Come here. The hotel accommodations, the best hotel, free of charge. All we want Cristiano Ronaldo to do is take one picture by the Peters and put it on Instagram. Everybody that follows him knows about St. Lucia now. That's just one thing to do to beef up your sports tourism product.
And that's just an example.
That's just an example. I'm just giving you one example because we don't have time. I can go on and on about that for hours on end. It's a simple thing that there are simple things that we could do right now that are inexpensive when you look at a cost-benefit analysis that would help develop us as a nation and put us out there to the world.
So with that mindset, this is what more or less drove you to more or less go up for
Well, you see, in Grosley, I was at Alpha Lewis as president of Students' Council, and there was already talk about me going up for
Boy, I never see people placards and vote for Kenson.
And so, I mean, growing up from the community, knowing my community, giving back to my community as part of Grosley Community Action Group, as part of the sports club, the organizations, and that sort of thing, person saw that genuinely I'm somebody who loves my community. And like I said, there are many, many options for me to not come back home, and I decided that this is what I really wanted wanted to do. I mean, when you look at the situation with facilities right now, when you look at the prioritizing of how our monies are spent and that sort of thing, especially in a community like Grosley, who have so many people suffering, do you decide to build a golf course, or do you decide to deal with the unemployment issue in Grosley? If you do decide to deal with the unemployment issue in Grosley, where is the database of the talents that exist in Grosley? Create a database. This guy is good at singing. This guy is good at doing that. How do we then target those guys to actually, develop whatever skill they have to make them employed? How do we deal with underemployment in Grosley? A big issue, because we have so many people working in hotels and perhaps making about $1,000 for the month, but still have 2 kids to feed.
Probably less than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you have 2 kids to feed. About 600 or 700 of that goes into rent. So what is the issue here? Housing. Grosley has the largest population explosion over the last 20 years in the sub-region, not in St. Lucia. Not just in St. Lucia, in the Windward Islands, and further analysis could show that in terms of population movement, Grosley have absorbed the most of that. When you look at every single nation, what do? They provide affordable housing in the form of rent, like a CDC. We have 34,000 people in Grosley. Why haven't we come up with an area where, for example, the Dia Mall, where we create an apartment complex to make it affordable for those mothers that are from the community to rent at a cheaper cost to take care of their families? At the end of the day, you have those individuals trying to work 2 jobs and their kids are on the block, and we're saying, oh, the kids are on the block, where the parents? The parents don't have a choice. They have to make money to pay rent.
Yeah. So the critics may say, right, you don't have any prior political experience, right?
Oh yes, they say that.
And
not me.
even like what you're saying is just talk, right? For me, what makes you different from another candidate?
I think what makes me different is the fact that I genuinely believe that if you are, I'm not going to say that most of them are dishonest. I am not the type to go and say to anybody that I'll give you A, B, C, and D. I think if you're going to start off by telling people you're going to give them things, which is what most politicians do, when you get there, you are going to be in a sad state of affairs and realize that you really cannot do A, B, and C. I prefer to have the approach where I mention exactly what I see as the issues, mention those issues, and deal with these issues in a way that is prioritized through the community. I have ideas. I've said some of them here. I want to have an approach where I share those ideas with my people, and my people then would communicate with me, and we prioritize based on what exists at a particular time on what those issues are that we're going to deal with immediately, than to have a chicken and rum sort of idea of how things are going. We had that discussion a little bit earlier. I was listening, and go and sit down at a bar. First of all, I don't drink. Don't sit down at a bar and just tell people, vote for me, I'll buy this for you, I'll do that for you. I do not embrace that approach. I'm also very objective in my thinking. I believe both parties have a lot of work to do. I believe that both, there are so many mistakes that we can identify on both sides. Even if we want to talk about CIP right now, there's so many mistakes on both sides that we clearly see are setting us back as a nation. And be objective enough to say, this is not right. We cannot continue to go down that path. I strongly believe this is where we need to go, and insist that this is what we need to do.
All right. So, Kenson, what words of advice would you have for persons who can relate to your humble beginnings and cannot see themselves in any other type of better situation? What words of encouragement do you have for them?
First thing I'd say is pray. That day when I sat down at the Ministry of Youth Development, Ministry of Education, that was in Sanssouci, and I was insulted to my core, and I was told I was dumb, I'd never be anything. When I went into that bathroom, what I had when I actually knelt was a small blue testament. I don't see those around. I had a small blue testament in my back pocket, and I felt it from my calves, and I pulled it out and I opened it, and it was pretty much Psalms, and I started reading. And what I decided to do that day was pray. So the first thing I would say is pray. And with prayer, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in what the word says and believe in yourself. And after that, if every single negative that is said about you, you ask yourself, is that coming from the Most High? Is that coming from the Most High? Is the Most High telling you cannot do something? And the answer to yourself should be no, that is from the devil. So you push it aside, because if you say you want to do that and in your head somebody tell you cannot do that, that is from the devil. You push it aside, and guess what? You work you work, because you see maths, CXC maths, it's still up to today, for me, that was the most difficult test in my life. I've done a master's and nothing has been harder than conquering CXC maths, because I really was at a position I couldn't do it. Other people have ones and twos in what? But for me, I was a reader. I've been a reader my entire life. I'm a reader, so that was difficult for me, and I believed I could do it. Believe in yourself, people. Get advice from the right people. Surround yourself with positive people. I surrounded myself with people like Mario Michel, Unesile, David Movies from Grozile, persons that were doing things in the community that have accomplished things. I surrounded myself with those people. I believed, and I accomplished what I had to do.
Great. So, Rankin, where can we read on Kenson's story in Dazzle magazine?
You can read all about Kenson and majority of what he said here today in issue 27. You can get that online at dazzlethemag.com. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel where this episode will be uploaded.
All right. Thank you so much.